Yeah, I think your opening dialogue really nailed it. That the issue in Iran actually is really benefiting the United States oil markets in a major way. You know, there's some downside too. It's not all upside. I mean, just today Brent hit I think $129. So
Yeah.
we are going to see, like Trump said, some short-term pain, but we have destroyed, just absolutely decimated the Iranian economy, and Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. I would agree with that. But more importantly, when it comes to the energy side of the game, we are now the primary exporter of oil and natural gas in the world. And with the UAE leaving the oil cartel, also called OPEC, we are in a really good spot to capitalize on this if we play our cards right.
Yeah. So the UAE, it's interesting that you brought that up because now you have Iran and UAE basically out of, Iran out of commission, affects OPEC. UAE, third largest oil producer next to Iraq and Saudi Arabia, right? I believe. So you have two big countries in OPEC gone. That puts them on the defensive, doesn't it?
Well, it certainly does. And I call it a cartel because quite truly, they have been fixing the oil markets longer than I've been alive, most certainly. And when you have that, like in our country here, if we had great American companies colluding behind closed doors to fix American prices against the consumer, you would see lawsuits. And yet that's okay overseas, apparently. But what I'm most excited for is that as America, we can work to decouple our energy prices, mainly our utility bill energy prices, right? We can work to decouple that from the global commodity market. And what that would do for us is allow us to sell oil and natural gas on the market when the market is at all-time high like this, because we have other sources of energy to actually fund our electric grid.
Okay, so nuclear. I talk about it a lot because I was so excited. I was on the C-17 from March Air Force Base in California with the Energy Secretary, the Undersecretary of War, Michael Duffy, and Chris Wright, the Energy Secretary. We went to Utah, to Hill Air Force Base. They delivered, I was on board with the world's first airlift of a nuclear reactor. Trump trying to get 3 of them critical testing by the 4th of July, by the 250th anniversary. 10 companies, I believe, competing for those SMR, small modular reactor, 1 to 5 to 30 megawatts. They're small. You can put them all together and you can power large bases and factories and stuff. Each 5 megawatt reactor, can service 5,000 homes. And now we have fusion reactors. Which one is going to beat it to the marketplace? I think there's like a race going on. And are these things going to be in service in 2 or 3 years like Trump wants?
2 to 3 years is really hopeful, and in my opinion, the only way they can do that is through federal expediting and federal land. The biggest problem with nuclear is truly comes down to the environmental review process, NEPA, right? And so what happens in this review process is they spend the next 20 years deciding what sage grass or what rare obscure lizard might be impacted by this nuclear reactor. But here's what we need to think about is, if we run out of energy in this country, we have much greater problems than worrying about what kind of lizard is not going to maybe exist anymore or lose its little home, right? So we need to be looking at how we streamline the permitting process. As far as who wins, I don't know who's going to win the SMR race. I'm very bullish on SMRs, and it kind of goes into my favorite saying, which is sell the commodity, build the sovereignty. There's a whole slew of energy, alternative energy, whether it's nuclear and SMRs to hydro, geothermal. I'm very bullish on residential and commercial scale utility and battery backup systems like virtual power plants. These are energy sources that you can't just load onto a ship or a barge and move overseas. So that means we're going to have to use this power here at home. But what that also does is it frees up our energy grid, which is currently powered, 40% of it is powered by natural gas. It allows us to sell those commodities overseas to nations who don't produce, who don't have good, reliable sources of these commodities. So we as a nation can capitalize on this, make a lot of money doing so, and use energy generators that we can't export, right? And the thing is these energy sources get so politicized, whether it's nuclear, which has been under scrutiny for many years, whether it's solar. But what Americans need to realize, what your listeners need to realize, is Americans invented all of it. We invented solar, we invented batteries, nuclear, hydro, wind, the oil and gas markets. American innovation is what created these technologies, and it's to our detriment that we offshored it and put the manufacturing overseas, which I think is the biggest concern with solar panels, right? But bring that home, reshore, reindustrialize America, generate our power here at home, and sell the commodity, make the money.
Yeah, I understand that solar is going to grow a little bit under the Trump administration. And, there's a lot of misconceptions about batteries. People don't want them because you can't put out the fires. They're very hard, but technology's come a long way. And we only have a couple, 1 or 2 hours of storage, if that, when, you need 24-hour combustion cycle energy and a conventional grid to guarantee energy security, but they still have a role. And I understand in California, we only have 2 minutes left, but I'll give you the final word. In California, they made like 40% of their energy was running off a battery recently. Is that correct? They made like a lot of leaps and strides.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number on what percentage it is, but you are right. The technology
in one of the grids, in one of the grids, not statewide. I'm sorry. Go on.
Right. Yeah, but the technology is here. And you hear it all the time, like, oh, batteries would be a really good thing. What's the technology there? The battery is here. Elon Musk has made an incredible product with the Powerwall. There's 100 other companies that are making incredible American-made batteries. And look, you are not going to replace baseload power with battery backup storage, but that's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to do what's called peak shaving. So you don't need to run these extremely expensive gas peaker plants. And look, if we can just shave the peak off of the demand curve, that's all it has to do. But also, if you live in a hurricane or electric prone high risk area like Florida, where I do, you're going to want a battery just for the hurricanes. And if you can help the grid by having one and export that to the grid at the same time, there's no loss there.